Jessica James had only been home for 2 hours, and already, Whitefish was a couple of sizes too small. She waited until everyone else cleared out, then loaded a flimsy paper plate with crusty potato salad and the last piece of huckleberry coffee cake. Standing alone under the shade of a hemlock tree, she was digging in when she heard a ruckus coming from the waterfront in the direction of Specked Mill. Stopping mid-bite, fork still in her mouth, she turned toward the river. Squinting against the sun's glare behind the jagged peaks of the Whitefish Mountains, all she could make out were 4 silhouettes, arms flapping. Shading her eyes with one hand and balancing her plate on the other, Jessica peered in the direction of the commotion. To her surprise, she recognized her cousin Mike shaking his finger at a tall, overdressed woman who stood out amongst the lumberjacks like a rattlesnake at a square dance. Usually so laid back he was prone, she'd never seen Mike this agitated. Jessica narrowed her brows, retracted the fork from her mouth, and stabbed it into a fat chunk of greasy potato. Grabbing her sweaty beer bottle off the picnic table, then gripping her precarious plate by its sticky edge, she strode across the park grounds to investigate. As she wove her way through the jumble of lumberjacks, mill workers, Forest Service hacks, and timberland owners, and their wives and girlfriends, their unforgiving stares burned through her freckled skin. Suddenly, she was an alien visiting from another planet. Except for the woman in the navy blue sheath and pearls down by the river, she was the only one wearing a dress, albeit a wrinkly garbadine vintage number with faded black velvet embroidery. And for all the cowboy boots in the crowd, hers were the only ones painted bright red with model paint. But it wasn't just her funky mismatched clothes or tangled mop of blonde hair that made folks shake their heads and tut with their tongues as she passed by. Even before she left Montana to go back east and study philosophy, she'd never been able to meet their expectations of a proper young lady. A klutzy tomboy, constantly getting into scrapes, and a troublemaker, constitutionally unable to play by the rules. Growing up, she'd always run afoul of the natives. Still, she hadn't expected kids, since she'd known since kindergarten, to turn up their noses and snub her attempted greetings. On the way from the airport, her cousin Mike had warned her that some of the old crowd thought she'd gotten too big for her britches, coming back and flaunting her fancy degree and book learning. But she could no more resist philosophy than they could resist reproducing. Just as their new baby sprouted every spring, following a cold, harsh winter, her perpetual soul-searching was the natural consequence of the cold, harsh reality of her childhood, starting with her birth. Her mom loved to tell Jessica she'd been born rolling her eyes and sucking her thumb, only a few seconds old and already bored with life. If it was true she'd emerged from her mother's womb sucking her thumb, she'd probably just been biding her time, waiting until she could escape from the constricting grips of her maternal confines and get on with life. Even in utero, she'd been pensive and brooding, a natural-born philosopher, and the perfect fit between her tiny thumb and the roof of her mouth confirmed her contemplative character. It also meant she'd wear braces for most of her adolescence. The braces may have straightened her teeth, but nothing could straighten her temperament, as meandering as a Montana stream. Concentrating on her plate and avoiding eye contact with disapproving Specked Mill picnic crowd, she snaked her way toward the shore. By the time she approached her cousin, the well-heeled woman he'd been gesturing towards had taken cover behind one of the 2 gray suits and was shaking her head no. When Jessica was within earshot, she heard her cousin say,
"I know it was you."